Hey everybody, welcome back to The Turnout. I am your host, Aloy. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification so you always know when The Turnout releases new videos. And today's video, I have been joined by my good friend at Approach the Nerd, Maria Park, and we're doing a whole breakdown of the first episode of the new season of Charmed, Season 3, as well as just giving a ton of predictions. Now, over here on this channel is the second part of the larger discussion, so you definitely want to go check out Approach the Nerd. I will put a link in the description so you can go check out the first half. However, the two halves are kind of segmented, so you can watch this one or that one first and you still get the gist. So let's go ahead and get into the discussion.
All right, so let's talk about let's go back to Jordan.
I guess we
So
need to talk about Jordan.
we
And
need to talk about Jordan because Jordan's still going through the curse. He's going through it. But I have to say this. Maggie was cold. She was like, so yeah, Macy's trending right now. So that means safe space ain't safe. So you might want to like not go back. I know that's how you pay your rent. But yeah. Oh, but by the way, you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. I'm like, that is cold. Like seriously, the man has to work to pay his school tuition and his rent and buy food. You know, I know the charm ones don't understand this, but he needs to do this because he lives in the real world outside of safe space. So if you're not going to let him crash at your house.
I'm kind of happy about that though, because I don't see Jordan and Maggie. Like it's weird. Like they have this chemistry.
They do have chemistry together.
But I don't want them together. I think that they're a terrible match. I think that, no. You don't want to be.
It's interesting because everyone loves her with Parker, and in real life, she's dating the actor.
Yes.
So, you know, of course, they should have chemistry. Honestly, I think that's probably why he's not on the show, because if they ever break up, they still have to work together. They probably don't want the drama. So they're like, oh, we're just going to let you out of this now while you guys are still good with each other. And you could just do guest appearances or whatever. But
what I will say is I think that the most annoying part about Jordan is because first off, I love Jordan and I've done so many, I love him because he's everything. He can do everything and he's amazing.
Yeah.
He can do everything except mind read, you stupid ghosts. Because the ghosts are like, you have to balance the scales. Well, what does that mean? Just balance the scales. Well, what does that mean though? Well, just what? If you don't balance the scales in the next hour, you're going to die. But tell me what I'm supposed to do. I've been waiting for 12 episodes for you to tell me what to do. I would have done it already if you just told me what I was supposed to do. So anyway, that's how I feel frustrated for his storyline. And they're like, oh, well, you need to save this descendant. Why didn't you tell me that 6 weeks ago? I could already save the descendant. She didn't have to spend the last 6 weeks in the painting. I could have got her out. Like, come on.
I mean, that's true. I agree with you know what though? You just actually opened up a can of worms here. Because why is there a riddle for every damn thing? Why can't the elders write a book that says, if you're able to read this, don't do this. Don't do this. If you do this, this will happen. Don't open this.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, Harry's actually a white lighter and he's got a dark lighter. we did this thing in Scotland. We messed up. Our bad. Oh, and here's a whole list of other stuff we done. Why? Why do we need prophecies? Just tell us.
No, but that's the thing, right? Because you would think if the elders were still around, then I can understand that there would be like mystical encryption of things, right? But we've already learned that if a witch dies, like some of her spells will, like her active spells, like they stop working, like they stop. So like really it should have been like when the elders were killed, they should have gotten access to like so many secret things, which I think they did. I think they kind of touched on that with the Clarion potion in the first place, right? They're like, oh, hey, right here, it's the Clarion potion. Didn't they ban that? Why is it in this book then? If it's in this book, I'm going to do it. Like, so like if it wasn't in the book, I wouldn't do it. But since it's here, let's do that. So
I like that theory. Well, you know what would have been cool too is if because they're the daughters of an elder, because their mother was an elder. Sure. Marisol was an elder. So once the mother or the elder in your family dies, then you have the option of getting all of their secrets and you get to access to everything elder. So you don't need a decipher to read this book because you are your bloodline of an elder. So that would have been very cool. Why can't we read this book? Because your mother was an elder. I buy it.
Also, like you have a whole witch computer that is just GPS, and that's all. You don't have like a look up a spell thing you can just type into the computer.
I know, right? No Uber Eats or DoorDash. I mean, this is
Seriously.
BS.
Like I want lasagna, and then it portals lasagna into the secure place, the sanctuary. So
Amazon Prime orders are coming through. They'd actually get delivered on time.
It's just limited. It's almost like a 90s view of what a computer should be able to do. Like, oh man, in the future, you're going to be able to talk to anybody in the world. Okay, like we can do that and like a whole lot more at this point. Like,
well, I mean, the operating system is probably like what, Windows 3.1. So I mean, it's not evolved yet. Like, eventually we'll get to 95.
So, I don't know. It's just odd that like again, it's just like if it's a witch computer, but all it is a GPS. Like, just upload that to my phone. It can just be an app. Like, why does it have to be this giant mainframe computer that takes up a whole room and all it does is you just hit a button and it shows you where a witch is? Like, really, you need that much space? I don't know.
Well, see, now you've got me curious too.
Hmm.
So when we left season 2, they were drilling. Remember, they were drilling into and they were drilling right down into the command center looking for black amber. So what happened with that?
Well, I mean, we don't know at this point. I mean, the whole thing though that we saw was that they were using the drill and the drill was dying trying to go into there. So I would assume nothing is happening yet.
It kind of just seemed like the whole operation was just called off because like Swan was going about her daily life. They're all going back into safe space like they were going to work. I don't know. It's just really weird.
It is odd. I think it's in this weird kind of undefined space, I think, because we also didn't see the inside. So we don't know if like, well, Swan is still working to, work on the area and still manage the place, but there's a section that's off, for construction. I also feel like we never necessarily got a real idea of how big the place actually is, because it seems like it's a mall, but really we see like 3 rooms. Like it's weird, right? So I never really got a good sense for how big it's supposed to be, because if it's really big, then yeah, you can have construction going over there and continue operation on over here.
Yeah, they never really you're right. They don't really break it down. We see the staircases, we see like the upstairs level, and then of course the bar and the coffee shops, but we don't really see like anything. I don't even know where Maggie supposedly is a manager, like where her office is, because she's always like in the boxing place that Jordan's managing. So I don't know.
Yeah, because there's the main big area, like the big.
They had that little conference room with the table, but it seems adjacent to where everything else we walk by. Yeah.
There's the boxing. There's the magic shop. There's the coffee shop, and then there's the maintenance room.
And there's but I don't know where everyone else. I don't know what everybody else does there because it doesn't seem large enough. But I mean, again, like you're right. It could be like a college campus. We're not seeing the entire, I guess, campus area of this. Building.
It's ill-defined.
It is, but what's interesting is when you said that the drill stopped, and I kept thinking when they showed the drill stop, Swan was there. Damn elder. She's like, not in my lair.
but
I've been working overtime. But yeah,
that means nothing's happening right now. But as soon as Julian and his aunt figure out an enchantment for the drill to drill through the protections of the sanctuary, then it's toast. And I think that's fine. I would love that witch computer to be destroyed. I feel like
the entire command center can just go.
Yeah, the whole thing. We don't need it.
We don't.
I feel like that was also ill-defined and badly conceived.
Yeah, I know what they were trying to. They were trying to open up the world so it wasn't just a little college town in Michigan. They actually they were in Seattle, which is like their hub, and they can go anywhere in the world instantly with the little marbles. But what's the point? I mean, because you're not staying in an area long enough to establish the relationship of that area. So it's not like, well, we go here in Texas and this is where all the werewolves are. And we go over here in Oregon and this is where all the fairies are. No, they're not doing that. They're just going and saying there's a witch in danger. We got you. We never have to go back here again. We're out.
Though it's a good idea.
Yeah.
But I feel like if season 3 is going to start fresh, and safe space is already in the middle of being destroyed, let's just say the sanctuary is destroyed. and let's just move forward and find some new interesting plot device to use, I would say, because I've been complaining about the witch computer since episode 1 of the 2nd season.
I mean, it's Windows 3.1. There's nothing really to not complain about. Can't say anything worthwhile on that thing. Processor sucks. So, okay. So back to Jordan though. So like we were saying, it's very frustrating that they just don't come out and tell Jordan,
yes,
if you want the curse to go away, this is what you do. Because you're right. It does seem like they don't care if their descendants are suffering. They want him to figure it out. Like,
and that makes sense because it's a vengeful ghost. Like
it is, but you should be vengeful against your own line.
Right. Well, that, but also a vengeful ghost is way more concerned with vengeance than with justice. So it's almost as if they're like, well, sure, if you can solve this riddle, then I don't get to kill you, but I really, really want to kill you. So it's that sort of thing. So I mean, I get it how it could work logistically and why. But again, if the ghost really is concerned with its descendants, then really they should just say, hey, and they're at 3502 Westfield Street, because they're trapped in a painting. Make sure to bring Abigeal with you because there's a giant lock. And
the safe, yep.
Like if they're really concerned, but also why did they have to wait for Jordan, who has a curse? Like they probably could have just appeared to somebody and just said, hey, I'm a ghost and my descendant.
Yeah.
Do you mind helping us? And most people
like, go to the charm ones who save witches.
Like, ones directly. Exactly.
This is the ghost text. This is the coordinates. Put it in your GPS. Can you please go save my person? I mean, 5 seconds. And if you really want vengeance, don't give him like these wonderful family saving moments. Just say, you know what? I need you to jump in this volcano and grab this rock. I just want to see if you can do it. Or, you've been a bad boy, so you have to hold your pee for 5 days.
It's kind of the cornerstone of storytelling, right? It's like what they did with his storyline is they introduced these super high stakes, but then didn't give him a through line to what he's supposed to do.
Exactly. Don't have a redemption arc if you have no arc to redeem. That's basically it. Yeah, I agree with that. So yeah,
the character. That's the problem. That's why it's so frustrating with Jordan, is because I actually love Jordan. I feel like he's actually written really well beside the curse part.
Yeah. And then now he has an hourglass. So now I keep thinking about the Wizard of Oz. So I'm just like, you know what? I'm tired.
It's going to be his ghost beeper. And it's just going to start going down every time he has to go save somebody. He's going to be like, oh crap, who do I have to save now or I die?
That's what it is.
Annoying. It's not going to be crucial and like dangerous and exciting. It's going to just start being annoying.
Yeah, he's going to start flipping it down on himself. Someday I'll be a real boy. But yeah, I thought that was interesting. But okay, so let's talk about the rescue though. There was no challenge. There were no challenges. They just kept building up this ogre. Where the hell is the ogre?
Yeah, the ogre trapped her in a painting. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, here's the painting. Cool, let's leave. That was it. Like that was the whole thing. And then it was just like, well, how do we get her out? Oh, I do this. Oh, okay. No challenge at all here.
At all. I literally thought the reason Abigeal was going was not to be a lock picker, but was to actually be magical backup.
To fight an ogre.
Because Jordan's a fighter, but he's not going to take down an ogre. So, I thought, well, maybe that's what was going to happen, No.
That's kind of what I was expecting.
Nope.
But I did enjoy their conversation between each other because Jordan can do anything, including being a therapist for Abigeal.
Yeah. I know. Well, I like how he called her out too. He's like, it must be very tiring pretending not to give a crap, 365 days a year. And she's like, you have no idea. And he's like, yeah, right. Like you wouldn't even be here. Like, honestly, even if she wanted to get a message to her sister, like, let's be real. Abigeal could have been a lot more conniving because Hunter, her half brother, wouldn't have gave 5 craps about what was going on with Jordan or any of that situation.
That introduces 2 things. So like, first off, yes, I think that he did a really good job, and the way that he approached it was not girl, shut up. It wasn't like that. He was calling her out, trying to get her to respond, trying to get her to open up. Because again, he's an amazing therapist without going to school for it, but he also went to law school. So
which is therapy in a way.
Right?
Yeah.
So he's learning how to get people to open up, and he knows how to do that because he's Jordan and he can do anything. But the next part of the question is, with email, I'm sure mystical creatures that can deliver messages. I'm sure she can teleport exactly to where her sister, so there are so many ways to contact her sister. What is special about Jordan that she needs Jordan to do it? She can't do it herself. She can't ask the charm ones. She can't send a letter. She can't send an email. Why does Jordan need to do it? So that's the next question.
Yeah, that is true.
But there's a lot of implications there. Like maybe she's in a place that witches or demons can't go, or something to that effect.
Or maybe she's with her mom, and we know that she has no love lost for her mother.
Or it could be that.
So, yeah.
I think that the mom and the sister are Amish, so they can't send an email, obviously. But they're Amish people on Holy Land, so the demon part of her won't let her go there. So that's what I say: Amish or nuns.
I like the theory of her being Amish, but her mother is a full witch. And I don't know how that would go down in Amish culture. We might have another Salem on our hands. But no, I do like the fact that they could be in like a society or a coven that's just so protective of, and they consider themselves the pure lines of witches, because we did see those in OG Charm. You guys are witches, but we are generational, like the Charm ones weren't, but yeah, so it could be something on that level. We do know though that the mother had to have had a soft spot at one point for demons, unless she didn't know that Alistair was a demon, which is possible. Because she did have a baby with one. So
there's potions for everything.
So Alistair didn't seem the type to really care to try to convince you that otherwise,
I think what would be really interesting would be an examination of real world religions within the world of Charmed. Because it's kind of like, if you think about it, you have I guess let's go back to the Avengers. So if you go back to the Avengers, like Captain America, they're like, are you going to go out there? That thing's a god. And he's like, it's only one god, miss. It's just like, it's just like, he has literally fought gods. And he's just like, nope, only one god. I'm good with it. Like, I have my faith, I have my religion. So I wonder if you can be a Catholic as well as a witch,
Kat was having that dilemma, remember, because her her mother was very religious. But I think they're either Thai or the Philippines, but Thailand and the Philippines share something in common, is that they believe in ghosts. They see ghosts. You can actually Google this. There are lots of religions centered around when you pass over, you don't actually die. Your spirit just roams. And so that's why, if you look at my my really early review, before they even said what Kat was, I said I thought she was a medium, because she was seeing Marisol, and I'm like, it makes perfect sense for her culture. But yet her mother, who became Americanized, took on more of a Christianity approach, and so she saw it as being evil and needing mental help and all of that. So yeah, I think that was kind of the beginning of them playing with it, but then they just stopped. So it was just like, nah, she's leaving anyway. Why bother?
I would like to see more. I mean, there's so much I would like to see, that if I was writing the show, I'd be like, let's use this episode to kind of like, let's explore Mel's religion. Like, is she like a fully witch just because that's what she was now born into and she's discovered, and that it's new and it's shiny and it's exciting? Or does now she fall back on, like, they're Latina, so I'm sure they were probably raised in like heavily Catholic, kind of upbringings and stuff, because even if they're witches, there's the community overall. So
you're right. The OG Charm, they were Catholic, and there was, I think in the very beginning, Piper had a fear of walking into the church because she thought she'd be struck down for being a witch. But I will say this: after that episode, I don't remember them going back to the church ever again. It's like, I'm good. I can walk in whenever I want.
I remember Phoebe, like, I'm looking up and there's this religion called Wicca, and we should look into the, and like, they were, kind of playing around with the idea of introducing the idea of witch and Wicca are not the same thing. which is also kind of important. Like
Yeah.
it's an interesting thing to discuss how those two ideas can exist, can coexist.
Yeah.
So
I agree with that. And they had a perfect opportunity, actually, if they were going to use the magical teleporting, marbles to go to different worlds, instead of just going and just saving witches, they could actually have gone and seen other people and their religion and their magic and their cultures. So they really missed a really good opportunity to have international magic, basically.
Yeah.
So that kind of sucks. So, but it's okay, because someday we'll write the show and we'll fix all that. So.
Oh, I have so many ideas. I
do too. It's really sad.
So I guess the last thing we have to talk about is Jimmy.
Yeah, I'm saving the best for last.
This is the best part. I liked it at least.
I like it, but I mean, I think we both agreed. They just basically started their own version of pandemic, and they, in my mind, have made the conqueror. I mean, they made their own demise.
I think I said in my review, since he was in the UK, I'm like, a couple of episodes, he's going to be the prime minister. Like, that's just how it's going to be, because he's going to just convince everybody that he is a good man. And if everybody believes you're a good man, that makes you the best man. And then
and see, that's the problem. When I do my reviews, like you, I think you do yours, and you watch it the morning after it airs, and I do it the same night. Yeah. The problem that me and you will always have is that we get it really early. So a lot of reviewers will review Charmed, and sometimes they'll do it like a week later, or they'll do it at the end of the week. So we're always worried we're going to miss something. And the reason I'm saying this is the impact of what happened with Jimmy hit both of us stronger than anything else in this episode. Because when they had that potion and they didn't use it on Julian, but then they freaking use it on Jimmy, I was thinking, you just effing said that this is not morally a good idea. And then you give it to the worst person you could freaking give it to in the whole effing series.
What I will say, hold on, because he's bad, and I actually like him. I like him for that. But the thing about it is, like, the person who takes the potion believes the thing as well, right? So that means that he also believes he's a good man, which means he won't. It's less likely that he will do bad things because he believes he is a good man. So even if he did become prime minister, he would probably go on to be a really good prime minister. But it is still that pandemic, plaguey mind virus sort of thing. It's still bad that it's even out there in the first place.
Well, see, in my review, I actually took a different approach, because sometimes I think that they like us to go crazy in this series. Mm-hmm. And I thought, Harry is innately good. Yes, he makes you crazy with some of the decisions he makes, but he does things in the name of being good.
True.
Jimmy is his yang to yin. So yin and yang, he is always going to be dark. You can't fight it, because that is what your nature is. So my problem, or theory, which I guess is both a problem and a theory, is that by them doing that and telling him, I'm a good man, when his nature takes over, it may dispel it for him, but because it's a mind virus, it won't dispel it for anyone else. So he'll say, somebody's throat, I'm a good man, and nobody will fight him on it because they can't. And that is the worst thing you can do to someone who has a dark nature. It's not like he's redeemable in that sense. The only way to redeem Jimmy is to put him back with Harry. I'm like, you can't.
So here's the thing, though, is that, like, the idea of good and evil, it's always been a weird thing with this show. The idea of good and evil, and you're right. Even if we just take, and I'm American and I love our military and whatnot, our military are heroes for basically going and murdering people who are not Americans. Like, they're going over and they're killing people. So, like, being a good man could mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people.
That's true. That's true. But like how we all have a dark side. So it's like, when you're sitting and you like, I'll use myself, I'm sitting in a Zoom call and I'm like, if I just took a dump on everybody in here, they'd stop talking. It's like, that is not a good thought. That is a very bad thought. That could have made it darker, but I'm trying to be PG-13 here.
No, I get you.
Because so they took that.
Right? No, you're right. Because is he going to think that he's a good man so he does good things? Or is he going to do his normal things, and because everybody believes he's a good man, then those things become part of the good man thing?
Yeah, and what's scary about that is, because you're absolutely right, you can convince somebody that going and slitting 5 people's throats is a good thing, and nobody will challenge it because they can't.
So here's
that is bad.
No, it is bad. That is definitely bad. Here's my other huge gripe with this mind virus, is even their original plan was a bad one, because they were going to give it to Julian, and Julian was going to think magic isn't real. And then he was going to go spread that amongst everybody. So, but basically, he's going to tell 2 friends, and they'll tell 2 friends, and so on, until it's eventually going to come back to the charmed ones. They're going to interact with somebody. And is it going to affect them the same way?
Yep, I said the same thing.
And if it's not going to affect them the same way, then why would we believe that the potion is going to affect the Dark Lighter the same way? So that's the question here, is, does it affect only humans this way? Does it affect magical beings differently?
Yeah, and then think about this. By telling Julian that magic doesn't exist, not only will it get back to them, essentially magic will no longer exist, because every magical creature that gets affected by that will not realize that they have magic. So then there's no magic. Magic is essentially gone. So
die. Like Tinkerbell's gonna die, y'all.
She's a goner. She's a goner. So
it's gonna be like clap
stupid.
If you fairies, and it's just gonna be crickets. There's gonna be no clapping.
Well, I get so upset when somebody with a PhD, I'm like, is the one that comes up with this plan. She's like, totally, there's no consequences. I mean, when I run an experiment, I have my hypothesis, I do my thesis, I do all my tests, I have my samples, I don't have a protocol for this. I just decided that this was a good idea. And obviously, the elders thought it was bad, but we don't like the elders, so who cares? So we're just going to make this potion with the fresh siren tongue, and we're just going to give it away.
You know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, though, possibly this might be revealing to us a new side of Macy, possibly. Maybe this is Macy's, like, I really just want all of this to be over, and I don't care what I have to do. Which would be why she would be willing to do the mind virus, willing to go get the siren tongue, willing to just like straight up inject it into Julian by force with no consent. Just like all of these things that are so outside of her character. But I think at this point in her life, I feel like she's almost desperate for all of this to be over. And
I mean, she's given up a lot. She had a job she really wanted, and she can't be a scientist. She can't do any things that make her, and the only thing she has going for her right now is she got her powers back and she has Harry.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do see that. But then also I'm curious, if they put her in another predicament, was she has to open the door as a demon, could she still open it? Like,
well, I don't think so, because her demon parts were taken out, right?
Was it though? How do we know her powers were taken? But how do we know her demons? Because she got it through the blood. But how do we know that all of the blood is taken? Because just because you took her powers doesn't mean you got rid of the blood that revived her.
I think that's a hand wavy thing we're supposed to not nitpick, I think.
Yeah, I'm just curious if that's ever gonna, because I mean, it would show why she's so, like, that part of her nature is so okay with going and getting the siren stuff.
I was about to say the same thing, and then I reminded myself that no, she got rid of her demon part. Like, there was a whole episode about that.
Yeah.
So
Abigeal did get her with the dagger, but we don't know the repercussions of that. We have no idea how much of the demon is still, our blood is still in her. And so I'd be really curious to see if they have an episode like that.
It's kind of interesting. That's an interesting theory, honestly. I think it would be good to touch on that. And again, it's like when you're doing a lot of screenwriting, like, even if it's just a single line somewhere, like if they're just like, oh, like, I don't understand why we're doing this, and she could say just a one-off line, I don't know, I've run all the tests on myself and all the demon blood is gone, so I don't know. Bam.
Yeah.
One line,
or she could say something like, I'm really scared that it's not gone. I don't know if,
I'm scared it's not gone, so I checked, so it's definitely
just something for closure, so we're not sitting here speculating it ain't gone.
Exactly. There's a lot of speculation that can happen when you leave so many dangling threads,
and they love to leave threads in this series. But
at the same time, again, like, I actually really liked the idea, which you mentioned earlier. I like the idea of not rejoining Jimmy and Harry. And we've talked about that before. Yep. And I actually loved the fact that they were like, nah, go be your man, be your own man. I was like, yes, that is the correct answer. Yes, I love that. Because everybody else is just like, no, they need to come back together. It's just like, no, I don't want that at all. Please don't do that. Because one of them has to die in that case. And I like them both. I want them both to continue.
Yeah, I like that. The whole mind virus thing, though. I mean,
the mind virus is a terrible idea.
It was and I'm so upset that they didn't see that as being, they saw it for like, it's almost the 5 seconds of realization they had with Julian went out the window when it came to Jimmy. And like, to be fair, Macy didn't give Jimmy the potion. Mel and Maggie did.
Mel and Maggie did, yeah.
So technically they went up there and they gave him the potion and they put the little thing in his head. But Macy didn't stop it. Macy can be like, hold up, family meeting. I'm like, family meeting.
Honestly, they didn't even have a scene where they told Macy what they were going to do. So
it wasn't until after when they were sitting with the wine. They said, do you think we did the right thing? And you think it'll work, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, and they're like, let's hope so. And I'm like, this is not the time to have this conversation.
None of that said that Macy was part of it. It could have just been like, we did that. Do you think that was the right thing, Macy? I know you weren't really part of it. And she's like, I mean, I guess, hopefully. Like,
and Harry is a bad white lighter. Don't flame me, guys, for this. He should have been like, okay, hold up. We should not use this potion because I know, and the way our series runs, this is going to backfire on us because everything does. Like everything, but every idea we have goes wrong. So let's think about this. We have this idea. We do the opposite. Like that is the true course of the series.
So I feel though that this was the writer's way of having social distancing as part of the thing, right? So what's going to happen is that we're going to resolve this storyline in the next couple episodes. And then the Jimmy thing is going to come back. And then it's going to be a thing where you can't get near people. Otherwise, you'll like get mind virused as well. So you have to figure out a way to get rid of it, but you can't interact with people.
Yeah, you can't interact with anyone.
You can do social distancing pretty well because in the narrative, you don't have to interact with people. It's actually bad if you do. So I feel like that could be a way that they're rolling into the next season and being able to film it during quarantine.
That's possible. I know that JJ Hawkins is coming in. So he's going to play a character named Kevin, who's going to be like a transgendered male college student. I think this means that Maggie's definitely going into college or going to enroll in college, which makes sense because remember when she was talking to Ray, he said he had a friend at the University of Washington or something like that you can talk to get her in, which now I'm going to say this because we already talked about this at the very beginning. You're going to talk to somebody about getting your dead daughter into school. Booyah! Like, booyah! What?
Well, and that was the thing. So somebody in my comments said, well, all they need to do is make another potion and say the Vera Vaughn sisters didn't die. And then drink that and then go around and spread that and then everybody will think they're alive. And I'm like, but then what? We don't know anything about a duration. So what happens 50 years from now when they actually do die? Nobody's going to think that they're dead. Like, it's just like,
or they can just do what the OG series did. Because remember when they were pretending to be the cousins, and then they came back and they're like they were working on a case with the FBI, and they were undercover, so they had to go off the grid. And so they were sorry, we did this to you guys. I know that you're probably upset, but we're alive. They can do this, and that is believable.
I feel like that would be a good way to reintroduce Nico.
Yeah.
Would be they can say that they were working with the police, so they had to go under. Nico can kind of cover for them. That's a good way to bring Nico back in. I feel like they're going to. I feel like Nico needs to come back.
Something has to be happening because we see Mel's grave.
Right.
And everyone keeps saying, oh, she died. I'm like, I don't think so. I think this is back in Hilltown because the grave has like vines and all kinds of stuff on it. That is my mother's grave is the same way. If we don't go and we don't clear up all the foliage, then it's covered with crap. Yeah. So that is from age. That is not a brand new grave is not going to have foliage on it. I'm sorry. It's just not, even if it's a year, it's not like that. So I think whoever the hands are that are separating the foliage, my guess is it's Nico, is going to realize that they're alive because how could you not? I mean, Macy freaking trended. Nico figured out that Mel was a witch. That's how good of a detective she is. She's not going to find out that her girlfriend's alive because she sees her sister trail with a different name trending. Come on.
Yeah,
Come
I think
on.
that thing right there with the $1 million, I think that's gonna, again, it didn't go anywhere this episode. I think that's what's gonna also bring Nico, because Nico's gonna be like, wait, what? Huh? And
Yep.
I think that's gonna make her come around and start. I don't know. That's what I say. That's what I
I
see.
think that's what's going to happen. I really do. Because
What I would love to see happen would be at Mel's grave. It would be Nico, Jada and Ruby and
well, not Ruby, because Ruby has no reason to go there. She doesn't realize that that's the same person.
Well, I was just thinking that it would be fun to have like all of her exes all there assembled. Damn, it really sucks. And then Ruby would be like, she's not dead, right?
Like, say what? Where? Well, and then the thing I've always said in season 2 is Jada is half white lighter. Mm-hmm. She's half white lighter. She would find Mel wherever she was in season 2 to try and get her to join the sisterhood. So you mean to tell me she can't sense that Mel's still alive? That's just sloppy writing.
Well, I think it's either sloppy writing or Jada, the actress who plays Jada, is not available. So they're like, let's not even.
Well, I mean, honestly, I think she is because I'm on her Instagram. I'm like, they just didn't think to include her. I think that they were just like, this is.
She was great.
She was awesome. I love Jada. I think they just disassociated it. Yeah, they were like, we're just gonna everything they did in this one, we're just gonna get rid of, and then we'll only bring Parker over, and then that's it. Everything else is us and new. So these new showrunners were like Xing or like videoing everything we loved about the first season and got rid of. And this makes me so sad because they had a really good, like a lot of the characters in season 1 were very good.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And it just makes me upset that we won't see them again.
I feel like I feel like there was enough response in season 2 that they're going to backtrack on some of that.
I hope so.
Let's hope, because there were some. I mean, I'll be the first one to say it. The first season, it was very campy. It was an extended season, so there was definitely a bunch of filler episodes that didn't need to be there.
Yeah.
So that's fine. But then season 2 was almost too compact, and they were trying to do too much important things. Like, that's what fillers are for. Is like, oh, you need a storyline, but you don't want it to be super important to the overall world building. But like everything they did in second season had huge ramifications on what magic meant and like what it meant to be a person, and like also it just everything had a repercussion in the world building.
I agree with that. I do agree with that.
Like in the first season, it's just like, oh, characters from my favorite TV show came to Magic. Like it's so playful, and like, yeah, Magic can do that. It's great, but it didn't like start a whole thing like, well, yes, on the eve of every full moon, that's when characters come out of TVs. Like, wait a minute, does this mean that it happens all the time now? And wait, when is the next character going to come out? Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's the difference between a first season storyline and a second season storyline. Is like they would make it such an important, integral part of the world building that we would just have TV characters bouncing out of TVs like every day, as opposed to.
I do miss I love the Monster of the Week thing, though. It worked with Buffy. It's worked with all of our favorite series in the past. I think that was the one element, because we dwell so much on Vivian and the faction and all of this stuff, and we don't get that. Like, and if we do get it, it's like a little micro story that's on the side where we get an ogre mentioned with no ogre. It's like, yeah, I'm coming at you, CW.
Unless the ogre comes in later. I think maybe this was like made at the height of quarantine, this episode. So they really had to be super limited, and maybe they've been laxing security and stuff, and maybe we'll get more people as we go forward. Who knows?
That would have been cool to see him 6 feet away saying, and then Abigeal throws something at him, and then they're out. Even if it was like 5 seconds, do not build up an ogre to me and don't deliver an ogre. That's stupid. That's like, we're going to go see the Hobbits. Where are they? Oh, well, they're not actually here right now, but they had their second breakfast over there. You can have that. No.
I think it's going to come back to bite them. I feel like the ogre is now going to be chasing Jordan. Maybe that's the new storyline, is Jordan's new mission is to not be killed by an
by the ogre, and the hourglass is how fast he's gonna find him once he goes through his surveillance footage.
I love it. That's definitely the next episode.
Why? But no, I just think it's interesting. I really would have loved to seen how Abigail got those demons out of her apartment too.
Yeah,
she made it seem like, well, I'm not even worth having an enemy anymore, so they just up and left. I'm like,
I think that's what it. I think they were just like, like you're nothing anymore, so bye. You know,
we'll leave you with your penthouse.
She was definitely on the pitiful side, but guess what? She's still gorgeous.
She
still
is
gorgeous.
I mean, I would not kick her out of bed, but I do wonder where she gets her money from.
Yes.
I'm very curious.
I think, okay, so witches can't cast money spells, but demons can, I guess, right? Like,
yeah. I mean, she does have friends that have money, because remember last season they went to her friend that was throwing the party, and you know, they were a fashion magazine and all. They realized that a bunch of celebrities were demons.
That's the thing, right? Because there's castes. Demon society is castes, and
Yeah.
they are from the higher, richer, more affluent castes. So they just have money because they're from those certain clans.
Exactly. And so that's why I asked about Abigail, because her father tried to kill her. So she's not considered a Cain. And she took his name, but he never gave her money. He never gave her status.
So what he says doesn't really matter at this point.
So does she just get money by name only? Like if I was like, my name's Maria Cain, have this money. Like, here's a credit card in your name. Is that how it works?
Well, I mean, so here's the thing is like, so if we're considering that demons have with mortal identities also have bank accounts and all of that stuff, right? So if Alistair Cain died and they like had a funeral and stuff, maybe he had a will, and like, or maybe he didn't have a will, which means it went into probate, and then all she had to do basically at that point was show up and show that she was blood related to Cain, and it was just her and Hunter, so probably they split his fortune in half. And that is my legal defense for why she had money.
Well, I thought Hunter died the same time as Alistair, though, didn't he?
Well, that's what I said him. I'm sorry. Did I say?
You said Hunter, so you're talking about Parker.
Sorry.
Okay. No, you're fine. Because see, I knew Parker was going to be okay because his mother had money too. His mother was the head of a science department, so she had money. I just wondered about Abigail because she's disowned by her mother. She's disowned by her father. Where do you get the cash? And I mean, to live in a penthouse, you've got to have cash.
Well, and again, like they were demonly disowned, but like legally, she's still the heir to that money if he didn't put it in writing that he gave up rights as her dad or whatever. Like
unless he didn't claim her. That's the thing. Like she could have took his name after he died. We don't know the circumstances. That's what's so interesting to me about Charmed is the one mystery to me, the biggest mystery to me is that why don't they have money? Why don't they need money to live in this real world? I mean, why? You have to pay. I mean, when me and you don't pay the bills, then we're just poor and homeless. So I mean, how do they get around this? They have time to go fight and come up with these elaborate plans.
They did at the beginning. Right at the beginning, it was like one was what was Mel, like a teacher's aide, like basically
Mel was she was an adjunct professor for a women's studies class,
which by the way they don't get paid crap. Because I have two of my friends are adjunct professors,
but she was also still in grad school, so that was part of her tuition and things like that. And then
Maggie was entirely in college, so that paid for that.
And their mother was a professor there, so that's how they got to go to school for free. And I remember they even said something about that in season 1. They didn't pay their tuition. They didn't have to start paying after the mother. Remember, after the mother died, there was like Maggie's like, now I have to start saving up at my part-time waitress job because I got to start paying for school. That's literally.
I'd be okay if they said like, oh, I'm living off of student loans. I'd be like, that's at least an explanation.
Yeah,
I'd be like fine with it. But then Macy, like, she's a scientist, so like she makes probably buku money based on whatever grants are funding this research and whatnot, and how much she saved. She seems like the type of person that probably has a huge like savings account. Like she seems like she's that type of person. that would just be like, I'm putting 30% of every paycheck away just in case something happens, and like, hey, look at that, I have like $50,000 just in my savings. So if I die,
but she doesn't anymore because she's dead. According to the eyes of the law, she has no access to that account. So when Maggie got that job as the manager of Safe Space, one of the managers, she was supporting the entire household, but she never goes to work. Like, she never goes to work. So it's like, how? I don't understand how jobs work. I don't understand how the lack of money goes. Because like, when we say we can't eat because we have no money, we actually mean it. You
don't understand it. I don't think the writers understand it either.
I guess not. They don't understand what it is to be poor. We are poor, so they don't understand. So like, whenever I see them walking around in their Forever 21 and Zulily clothes, and I'm like, okay, these are $100 a pop. Where are you getting the funds for this? You didn't wear this last season.
We're gonna write a backdoor pilot about like some poor witches and what they have to do to survive. Why their life is like the Charmed Ones is not what everyday witch life is like. Well, except that they have a giant invisible house, so they have something going.
They do have a giant invisible house, and Mel was eating chips. Where'd the chips come from? Who bought the chips? The house didn't buy the chips.
You don't know, it's an old stale bag that they just hadn't gotten around to eating yet. And she didn't say that she was really enjoying those chips in the show.
So that's true. But she was gonna make cookies, but I was trying to figure out with what, because you need to have flour, eggs, milk. I mean, what are you making the cookies with? So there's so many questions I have, Eli. If I'm really gonna nitpick this show, I need to understand how they are surviving without jobs and money. I've always said this, and how Maggie's supposed to go to school this season with no transcripts, no social security card, no identification whatsoever, because she's dead. She's dead.
They're going to definitely have to do something to make her not dead anymore. Because that's honestly, that is a storytelling, like I was the opposite of crutch. Like that's something you have to overcome when you're trying to tell stories, when you introduce this thing where like they have to take on different identities and they're dead to the world and all that stuff. They can't do all of the normal stuff, but you're writing them like they're just doing the normal stuff.
Like they can just walk out. Yep.
So it is one of those, just again, its second season was just all these huge world changing like things. Everything was just huge. And I hopefully in the third, going into the third season, we kind of pull back a little bit on that, and we make it like we make the challenges and everything a little bit more intimate and a little bit more closer to the characters, as opposed to these just giant things.
Yeah, I do I really need them to focus on more of their personal life in terms of how they are surviving day to day, besides just telling us destruction of the sisterhood. Like, well, we're already being destroyed. We have no food in the house. Like the starvation of the sisterhood.
They're all licking their chops looking at Harry, and Harry's just like, I don't want to force them. They're like, that's not what we're thinking.
I mean, we're okay with Siren's tongue being cut out fresh. I mean, your white lighter's prime beef.
What white lighter meat tastes like.
Oh no. We've got problems.
So I hope that you guys enjoyed that as much as I did. Obviously, I had a great time doing that. Thank you again to Maria for coming onto the show. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel, The Turnout, as well as Maria's channel, Approach the Nerd. Links will be in the description. And we have a ton more Charmed stuff coming at you here on The Turnout. I can't wait. This is just episode 1. There's so much to talk about. Otherwise, I have been your host, Aloy. This has been The Turnout. Thanks for showing up.